What's your name?
Lady Agnes Longan.
Could spell out.
Lady Agnes Longan.
Tell us what happened that night.
Well, we were sit down and 9:45. We were sit down eating all our way, and we were here the accident when she hear when the car was bounced. So we hit real hard and we start to walk fast in the road and we going to see if it's in the river. So when we go in the river, we see the car was flushing and was turning so. So me and she start to go hard. So people start to come by the river and they start to come in the river. But everybody was just standing and laughing and they don't want to go in the river. They say they don't swim. They don't know how to go and I want to go but I don't have nobody how to go because I don't want to go alone. So, and she don't want to go because she not feeling good. She was have a fever a few days. And she too. So I called she husband and she husband tell me he coming. So he coming and me and he when we go to see about the car, the girl was still living. She was still living and when we start to go, then the fella who living in the front, he and our next fella went in the river too. So So we went in the river. When we went in the river, no, then can't find the car. So I was standing in the car and say, well, it's right here, the car is right here. So when I was standing in the car, I hear like 2 times, like she hit in the car 2 times and then I don't hear nothing else. I feeling real sorry because we have heart, we have feelings. We Benny, yeah, but not everybody Benny is bad like how people talking about it, right? So I feeling like we have a fall because it was real sad because we see how she was living and how she died. And I take the hammer, she gone and look for the hammer and I break the 2 glass, but she husband break the glass in the back too. And we was break the glass in the back. But I try to go inside the car. I try the best to go inside. I try, but I don't find her. I don't find her. But she was lie down, like in the back seat. She was in the back seat. So we can see how far she was there. And the
Good evening, TNT family. You guys hearing me? Checking the. Are you hearing me, everyone? You hearing me?
Yes, Gary.
Yeah. So I want to welcome everyone back to Yellow is the Cold program on UNCU and say thank you, Mr. John Harry, for joining us. We're expecting Dr. Rambo will join us soon. So we saw a little more information based on the situation that an incident there with the young lady going off the bridge and what took place. At least they made an effort with that hammer. Maybe if they had a little bit of assistance, they could have done much more. We know the status of the response in Trinidad and how poor things are. So we're still waiting on information as to how the time frame for the first responders. We saw this hunter search and rescue there, but we want to know the time frame in the response to the um to okay, yeah. So for um the EMS, the fire service and response there, we want to get a better understanding. So Dr. Ramroop was looking into that. So, gentlemen, I would like to get your input on the situation, how you feel about this. We also know the fact that there is a bridge. Take a look at this. So there was a bridge built by the previous government, the UNC government, and I mean, look at the width of that bridge. I mean, that would have been sure play a role if we had in saving people's lives. And that this incident would not have happened if the bridge was open according to how it should have been done. So Arjun, Mr. Singh, I'd like to get your comments on how you feel about this situation.
Well, Gary, good night, Mr. Singh and everyone else on the chat. This is the first time seeing of this bridge, Gary. I was not aware that there was an alternative bridge under construction. This being the case, I mean, the blood of this young lady is clearly on the hands of Rohan Sinanan. 10 years, and they couldn't complete. The bridge itself is finished. It's just to connect the road.
Exactly.
I mean, that is vindictiveness of the highest order. I mean, just because the bridge happens to be south of the Caroni Bridge, you would leave that in bushes. The thing is literally going to be the road on the side of it is a track that this girl was walking through. 10 years to just complete that piece and connect back the two roads now, man. That is heartless. I'm guesstimating that 95% of the expenditure would have already been done on this piece of work, just to finish that last little piece. 10 years, man.
Yes, good evening to everyone on all those who are on the platform joining us. Welcome. Yes, Arjun, I know where the bridge is exactly. I was there about 2 years ago when I went down there. Like Dr. Ram said yesterday, he frequents that area. When I'm down in South, I go there to the market.
So, gentlemen, just 1 second, Mr. Singh. So, Dr. Rambo is in the house, and
Hi, guys.
our friend Donnie Rogers. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome, gentlemen.
I all, and looking at that bridge is quite, well constructed.
Good night, everybody.
Hi. And it's a matter of now connecting the road, diverting out the roads a little bit to connect into the bridge, ingress and egress, both in and out. That's all that was needed. Part of the foundation of the road, as you can see, the track is already there, so the other side has to be made out to connect the main road. But to hear a first-hand information of what went on, with the sad state of the lady in the car, it really, I heard it yesterday, and my feelings just went out. I just couldn't imagine that something like that happened there. I know the bridge itself, it's like a 1.5 cars could pass, so you don't know whether to enter. And hopefully I went with the Suzuki, so I was able to get through one of these 4x4, so I can get through there easily. But a normal size SUV, you can't, only one vehicle at a time. So you have that indecision whether I should go or not go, whether you should go or not go. And here is it, not 100 feet away, there's a big, well-constructed bridge, can probably take 3 cars, to and from So it's just a matter of connecting the both ends of the roadway to that new bridge. And, and even we had what the first-hand information, Gary, that the Venice who were there, they tried their best, and they were the first responders, you know. They were the first responders in the thing, but then again, people were there, no one knew how to swim, they had no equipment and so on site. So this was the unfortunate situation that went on there.
I'm going to replay that since Dr. Ramup and Donnie just joined us on the comments. Go ahead.
What's your name?
Lydia and Miss Longan.
Can you spell that?
Lydia and Miss Longan.
Tell us what happened that night.
Well, we were sit down at 9:45. We were sit down eating all our way, and we were here the accident when she hear when the car was bounced. So we hear real hard and we start to walk fast in the road, and we going to see if it's in the river. So when we go in the river, we see the car was flushing and was turning so. So me and she start to ball hard. So people start to come by the river and they start to come in the river. But everybody was just standing and laughing, and they don't want to go in the river. They say they don't swim, they don't know how to go, and I want to go, but I don't have nobody how to go because I don't want to go alone. So, and she don't want to go because she not feeling good. She was have a fever a few days, and she too. So I called she husband, and she husband tell me he coming. So he coming, and me and he, when we go to see about the car, the girl was still living. She was still living, and when we start to go, then the fella who living in the front, he and our next fella went in the river too. So we went in the river. When we went in the river, no, then can't find the car. So I was standing in the car and say, "Where is right here? The car is right here." So when I was standing in the car, I hear like 2 times, like she hit in the car 2 times, and then I don't hear nothing else. I feeling real sorry because we have heart, we have feelings. We Benny, yeah, but not all everybody Benny is bad like how people talking about it, right? So I feeling like we have a fall because it was real sad because we see how she was living and how she died. And I take the hammer, she gone and look for the hammer, and I break the 2 glass, but she husband break the glass in the back too. And we was break the glass in the back. But I try to go inside the car, I try the best to go inside. I try, but I don't find her. I don't find her. But she was lie down, like in the back seat. She was in the back seat. So we can see how far she was there. And the
So, gentlemen, you get a little update on what really took place there, and I'd like to hear some of Donnie and Dr. Ramrup as you join. I don't know how much time you can spend with us. You can give it a little bit of feedback on your input or whatever. Go ahead.
Well, we see this when he's for the first responders. That's one thing that strikes me.
Yeah, and if they had a little bit of help, if they had a little bit of help, it would have been they could have saved her life, and then pulling her out of the water. What was there to try and resuscitate her? Because you see her pass out doesn't mean that she completely dead. Was anything done anybody skilled person was there to try and resuscitate her?
Mhm.
I mean, it looks like hunters and search and rescue was before the fire service. So we don't know. We're still waiting for details on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw the video earlier today, and well, I think it's just a repeat what we were saying yesterday. The the terminology that we use for in forensics is vehicle submersion, right? And it has a high incidence of mortality. It's about, in fact, 11% to 12% of all drownings are due to vehicle submersion. And a lot of the advice that you get, even if you go to the journals on what persons are to do, it's not completely what we should say uh,
Conclusive.
foolproof, because what happens is that there are a lot of circumstances that could play. I mean, the standard teaching is that you have 1 to 2 minutes. If you're a good swimmer, you might have longer. If you have a child in the car, obviously it's like an airplane. And when you're going down into the river, you have to the first thing you have to do is to unbuckle your seat belts as you hit the water. So I mean, a lot of these people are panicking. The psychological stress is very high in these incidents, so that plays a great part. Now we have the electric or electrical vehicles where the glass itself is wound down with a switch. Before you used to have to use a handle. Nowadays, because of the automatic and electronic switches, you have to shatter the glass. A lot of the advisors tell you have a hammer in hand, but who's walking with a hammer in the car? You know what I mean? So I mean, it's foolish.
I
But
do. I do. And
I
I also carry a knife and a scissors, and I and I
yeah.
and I point it out. I pinpointed to my wife. I said I am leaving this here. Don't take it out the car, and this
yeah,
is just in case of that. And in fact, I have a small crowbar also.
yeah. Well,
So
I can tell you that the average person won't have it, and unfortunately, it's something that it's only I guess a few persons who mitigate certain hazards, along the way, along the journeys. A lot the average person going from their workplace to, I mean, my daughter-in-law, for example, goes on that road every day. Every day she works in MIC from where I live in Philippines, next to Kamla here, next to the boss, and she works in MIC, which is just over the road to the fire station, one massive fire station. And from where this bridge is, right, if you headed south, you just have to drive, right, about a couple of kilometers, you'll reach a junction. Then you make a left, you go onto the Suchet Trace, which goes onto the main road, the SS Syrian Road. And if you make a right and you drive for about 5 to 10 minutes without traffic, you'll reach the fire station. So it means that the Pinal fire station with lights and siren should have been there within, let's say, 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Unfortunately, the science and the evidence in forensics shows that within 5 minutes, if the person doesn't come out of that vehicle and the vehicle is flooded, they will die. So the Spanish people had the opportunity, but they just didn't have the help, right? I mean, to shatter the glass and get in. And of course, this girl, we're talking about her going into the vehicle to try to look for the body. At that time, it would have been possible, right, to resuscitate her on top of the car if you had it. But she was saying that they had to look for the car, and that's why she was standing on the vehicle, because they weren't seeing the vehicle after a while. So which means the vehicle was submerged. So um, there are some issues, but I think the prognosis in this case would have been poor. I think that from the time she slid down the hill into the water, given, I mean, the science, all the data showed that 1 to 2 minutes is the time that she had to release the seatbelt, go to the back seat, and then the Spanish girl was saying that she was in the back seat apparently. So which means that she did release the seatbelt. If what she's saying is true, it hasn't been verified by other persons. But if what she's saying is true, then she came out of her seat. She did go to the back seat, and she was crying for help because she was probably unable to hit the window or break the glass with a hand or feet or whatever on the back, which would have been the left upper window, right? And then the vehicle then got submerged. And of course, it got flooded out. It was probably an electrical window. It wasn't something that she could have wound down. So she suffered. Well, obviously, she drowned. So, I mean, sadly, it is not it's a high fatality. And then, especially if you don't have very good emergency services. I made the point yesterday that fire services should have been called. Right, I wrote a little, I wouldn't call it an article, but a little, statement today, which says 3 numbers had to be called: 990, which is fire; 999, which is police; and 811, which is ambulance. So somebody had to call 3 numbers, and get these 3 set of people there, right? So, which is sad because one of the things I've been saying is that people should only have to call 1 number in a real serious emergency and shouldn't be thinking about who to call. They should just call 911. So that's one thing that I am not happy about. The second thing, if you look at the bridge, they came and they fixed it and they extended it. Those things should have been done long time, even if they weren't using the other bridge.
Exactly.
Right? The third thing is that I think that people know that bridge is a 1.5 bridge. They should have had a traffic light there a long time. In other words, then a traffic light which says stop, and then you stop, and then you wait on the other side to come, and then you go. And I mean, these are things that it is road safety, right? The other thing is, that that is a narrow road in the middle of the night. I think all those sort of dangerous bridges, bends, even the exit ramps and the the ramps on highways to come off and come on, they should be lighted. Intersections should have light.
Yeah, but we don't know if somebody rushed her, So
well, this is the point. Yeah, and I mean,
Exactly.
it should be lighted. You see, the statistics. If we go with the science, right? This is a high incidence of. If you look at vehicle submersions, right, and the incidence of vehicle submersions, where you're driving on roads like this, the road might be slippery. You might get a bad drive, as they say in Trinidad. Right, we don't even know what were the circumstances that this girl veered off the road and took this side there, right? So, I think that this should be a lesson. I mean, the UNC is in a situation where we have just taken government, and everybody is expecting more of this government. You saw somebody put on the Express that if you see any roads, I don't know if you saw the article. It's almost like PNM was there for 10 years and you didn't see Express put out at all. But all of a sudden, the Honorable Prime Minister, with all her passion and all her ministers driving very hard now, you want to come now and say, well, everywhere you see a river like this, call us. We have a hotline. You know what I mean? Just like the opposition want everybody who losing their job to call them. What was happening 10 years ago when they weren't even advertising people's job? They were doing it hidden and hiding their family. Now we are advertising. Look, I said a teacher's job have been advertised. Now, I mean, what the hell they doing? So I think that the honorable MP, the ministers should put a traffic light by that bridge while they get the other one sorted out. Right? They should put some better lighting. And not only this bridge, I think the Minister of Works as well as ministers of local government and works should, with the local government people, drive around, the councillors drive around to all the areas, right, such as these. They're not just this area, we traverse the country. There are other areas just like this, or even worse. So I think they should put lights in those areas. They should try and see if it is, they see what are the risks to people's lives. One life is so precious, and look at this. It's sad. It's really, really depressing when you think that the lady was knocking on that glass and asking for help, and the people on the vehicle was hearing her take her last breaths. How traumatic it is for both the savior and the victim. I mean, it's so. I mean, we don't sometimes, as even we are persons, and I'm a trained trauma surgeon in the hospital. We deal with a lot of deaths and whatever. Even when you hear of these things, it still makes you cringe. You know, it makes you cringe because you know what I think about, guys? My daughter-in-law travels on this same road morning and evening to go to work and come back. And when that happened that Monday night, the first thing that went to my mind was my daughter-in-law. Today I asked her, I said, Candice, what will happen? Did you read about it? Have you checked to see what you need to do in case that happens? And now you have a baby with you. And she said, well, yeah, they had a talk in school today in MIC, and a lot of them Googled it, and they were saying, well, you have to wait until the vehicle is submerged, and it was easier because when the pressure equalized. Well, according to the science, forensic science, when you reach that stage, right, and you allow the car to fill with water, then the chances are higher for mortality. In other words, and if you fail to open the door, then you're dead, for sure, for sure, for sure. So it is something that we don't advise, but it is possible. But you have a higher mortality rate. You don't have much leeway there.
Well, you know, you and I are waiting that time that we go
Well,
to Multi
clearly,
Fighting to get the hell out of
as I
there.
say, one of the other uses of a firearm, that might be the first thing I might think about in the back there. You know what I mean? Because we do have a licensed firearm. So.
Carry a hatchet in the car.
Well, I do walk with my firearm, so in my case I will definitely do that once you know.
But that could not fire too. But I mean, when you think about it, if you have something to break the glass like a hammer or a hatchet, you know, keep it in the car. You don't need an FUL for a hatchet and a cutlass.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. But you know, again, not. I mean, if you do a survey of people who will keep these things in their vehicle, not. I don't think much people will do that. You know, but it's something that obviously, if you are driving on roads where you have that type of risks, you know, you would definitely think about it now that we have this hype on what happened with this girl. You know, so clearly, I mean, it's something that people should think about. You know, now there is a roadblock lower down, and the police and them check your vehicle, and they see this, and they tell you, well, you're traveling with a dangerous weapon.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Oh Lord. So, you know, it's one of those things.
Yeah. You know. Anyway, we have Donnie. Donnie hearing us? I don't know if he's hearing us.
Probably
anyway, you know,
mic is out.
Donnie, I don't know if your mic is unmuted enough. Not sure if you're hearing us, but whenever you want to jump in, Donnie. We wanted to get a little feedback on your input. As you see, with all the budget talks that's taking place in the country. And you know, guys, I've seen that again and again. They're trying to spin this Daniel ground law into a racial thing, and we are seeing. I mean, I want them to show me where Afro-Trinidadians have been attacked in the country. Because every day you are more seeing an Afro-Trinidad gone down in the country, where there's a gang warfare between them and themselves, you know, and then they, you know.
Gary, and I think Sumant said it before. I think that there's a certain stage where we should just, you know, don't even respond to that type of nonsense.
Correct. No, you have to respond.
The more you respond to that dotishness is that they will keep getting you involved in a conversation.
Yep.
Right? I think that if you look at what is going to happen, if they say that, and they keep saying that every day, what is going to happen? What exactly are the consequences of them saying that?
But they're trying to break up this relationship.
And that is why I think our ministers and them and our government should just forget, you know, just listen, let it go through one ear and come to the next. And just let them eventually fizzle out, because they will eventually, when people are not taking on that bullshit. Right? The population that we have now, there's a lot of younger people walking here, and this conversation, sometimes it really doesn't matter. Right? We are having more.
They're beyond that. They're looking for betterment. They're looking for betterment.
If you look at the UNC crowds that were coming out this time, and even the last two elections, we had a very, very mixed crowd of young people of both ethnicity. Right? And I think that it is something that
there was a bonding, a solid unity, that unbreakable unity, and this is what these older heads who are so corrupted in their own thoughts are trying to cause the division.
Sometimes people, they have a word called provoke. I think they're just provoking response with the hope that somebody will say something stupid,
Yeah.
and then when they say something stupid, then they will hit that. I think the provocation is clear, and I think that's the opposition's main, what we should say, main weapon, right? And I think this government should start saying, do like Trump, start saying, you know what, man, I in power now. This is what I'm saying. Okay, let's do this.
We have to go to Trump. You could go to Rowdy, and that is the only thing I admire
yeah.
about Rowdy. Rowdy, when he
Yeah.
did that, you have to give him credit for doing that. He did what he felt to do. Whether
Yeah,
it
he
was
just
wrong, he did
didn't
it
take
the
them on.
wrong
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Them didn't ask nobody permission. Them in charge.
No.
You're the one in power. The buck stops with you.
Yeah, and I think one of the ministers did even say that. He said she said we in power now. Take that and well, you know what she said. Take that and you
Yeah,
can do what you want with it.
And
Yeah.
I really look up to Rowdy for managing that part of his portfolio, because
Yeah.
he did, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I think there's
often or not, but he went too far with it sometimes with critical issues. He
Yeah.
did not, he
Yeah,
also
yeah.
did the same
Yeah, but
thing.
whenever Donny could jump in here, we are interested in, we
Yeah,
saw
guys, I'm listening to you.
Oh, yeah. I thought maybe it might be out sometime. So, Donny, if you can give us, a little feedback on how the farmers are feeling, in reference to how this budget discussion is going. Also the stand your ground laws, because I saw in one of the earlier thing with Anand Ramlogan where a farmer was concerned about if he's in the garden and somebody attacks him. What's his right to
Okay,
defend
so
himself?
right, so there's two things you have to look at here, right? Like tonight, we had the budget consultation at Cuba South, which is Barry Padarat's constituency. And
Wonderful.
in that, I would say that the topic of food production as being a part of the budget was about 40% of the conversation. So that is high, right? And that is good. That is refreshing for me, to know that people are actually interested in food production. Now, as I've always said, I mean, my research has shown that prices have increased by, we are, we have an increase of 155% over the last 10 years. And commensuratively, our agricultural production we are still 55% below pre-COVID levels. So when you have a situation like that, I think it has reached the stage where it started to hit people's pockets, where sometimes based on cyclical demand and supply, you cannot afford basic things like tomatoes, right? And I actually made this prediction on some forum I contributed to. I can't remember exactly when, but I made this prediction last year that if the trends continue by this year and next year, you're going to have a growing problem where an increasing cohort of citizens will not be able to afford basic items at certain parts in the year, right? And we are seeing evidence of this now. We are seeing, and it is reflecting as having a greater part of the national conversation, right? Because, and the only time people talk about something is when they start to feel it, right? So you're seeing that now, and people are calling more and more for a more structured approach to the development of the agricultural sector and specifically food production. So, I mean, I as a director of the Agricultural Society and as somebody who has been advocating for this and basically speaking about it for so long, I welcome the conversation. People, unfortunately, it's taken people, they say you have to burn to learn. Well, people burn now, and they're now starting to talk about it. Ideally, I would have loved for this to be one of the hot topics a couple of years ago. But I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, we are seeing an increase in the participation of conversations relative to agricultural production and stuff like that. And as it relates to, and I mean, on this, I think that the government also came into power where the neglect on the agricultural sector was a major part of where the campaign was built from. So, you know, we need to see something happening there. I think that, I mean, my position is that there are many things that the government can be doing to influence the increase in production that doesn't necessarily have to cost money, right? And to that, I mean, I'll be a little bit guarded, and I will just say that I hope that these things occur, at least, you know, in the next couple of months and stuff like that. But as it relates to the arming of farmers, for them to be able to protect themselves, you know, I always tell farmers that if you don't treat your operations or your farm or your garden, if you don't treat it as a business, you're going to fail. And we need to understand the true cost of agricultural production. And because, you know, the typical thing, I mean, Dr. Ramroop has an FUL, as he said. I'm sure they would have asked many questions about finances and those kinds of things. So let's, you know, just briefly, I'll give you a little synopsis of it, right? A simple thing as corn. If you were to engage in the production of corn, you need, and you want to put out, okay, let's say 2,000 corn for the day. So at 2,000 corn is your crop, let's say income. You need to be able to invest the cost of production by 65 times, because that is what is going to give you your crop in a rotation. Unless you want to put out one crop and then wait the next 6 weeks or 65 days, sorry, not even 6 weeks, more than that, or you want to wait 65 days in order to reap again. If you really want to reap your crop every day, you have to invest whatever it takes, and it's a couple $1,000s to do that per day. And you have to invest that by 65 times. So the cost of agricultural production is not cheap. And that is just the consumables cost. We're not talking about the capital expenditure like irrigation and pumps and, you know, all the tools and everything you would be needing. We're not talking about the cost of land prep and stuff like that. So we're talking about the basic cost. And that honestly could run you up in almost a couple $100,000, right? And that's the average that any other business will put out to be able to generate an income every day. Because when you look at a regular business, a brick and mortar business, let's describe it like that, you want to make money every day. You don't want to make money every 2 months, once every 2 months. It is every day you want to be making an income, which is a standard business thing, but it requires a substantial investment, right? Now, I mean, I do crops and things like that on my farm as well. And that is what I'm telling you, it requires a substantial investment. So when we're looking at the protection of that, why shouldn't we protect farmers who are also investing equally as much as the brick and mortar businesses, but who are also given the service of being able to feed the country. And it's not just feed the country alone, because right now we have a food import bill of 7.2 billion. And if we cannot produce food locally, we're going to have an increase in the food import bill. Having an increase in the food import bill means that the scarcity of forex increases. So it's a whole set of trickle-down negative aspects that could come to light if we are not able to protect our farmers. I have put out this information already. Statistically, we have more farmers leaving than entering. And the major reason for farmers leaving agricultural production is the increase in predial larceny and the sustained increase that farmers have had to endure over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, reported predial larceny increased by 200% over 10 years. And that is reported.
Lack of support from the government, in the sense that you have no protection. Number one, the burden of farming alone is heavy enough, and you have to deal with all these additional unnecessary things, and you feel like you're fighting a losing battle. So who would want to get involved in it?
Exactly. Now, if we look at the progression of crime, and this is something we don't talk about when we're talking about predial larceny, as it relates to farmers, it is not just predial larceny. It is serious reported crimes as well, because farmers have been tortured. Farmers have been beaten, robbed, shot. They lose their car, they lose their van, they lose their implements. Right? Now, let's get a little technical in the law here. For a serious reported crime to be classified, let's say in terms of larceny, it has to be from $2,000 and above, right? A pump will hit you $5,000, $6,000, right? Irrigation will hit you probably 3 times that if you're talking about somebody lose irrigation on their fields. So it is not just about predial larceny, and predial larceny is a minor crime. That is the first classification. And we tend to think, okay, that is somebody thief some little pumpkin and body. It's not that. The progression of crime says that it is a serious incident because of the value that farmers are losing. And if we don't approach it like that, if we don't see it for what it is, the farmers and the sector will never get the just recognition as they deserve as it relates to crime and their capacity to protect themselves. And it's high time that farmers protect themselves. And I would just like to say one more thing as it relates to FULs being given to private citizens. In an old job, I was in the protective services, and I would have made it to the National Defensive Pistol Team. And taking in consideration that level of shooting, my take on FULs for private citizens is that right now the law only requires a certificate of competency. That means you must be able to clean your weapon, you must be able to operate it effectively, right? And safely. If you put somebody, the average homeowner or the average Joe, even protective officers, right? Meaning those who would carry firearms for a job. If you put them in a live fire situation, you will miss your target at point blank range. Meaning you will point a gun to somebody right in front of you, and because of adrenaline, you're going to miss your target. And I've seen it. I've seen it many times.
Also, the
So when
Jasko,
you're
you
in a
know, when
live,
you and that person going at each other, you have to be very
right,
careful how you fire
when
that
your
weapon.
adrenaline pumping and you're in a live fire situation, because of the adrenaline, you lose focus on aiming. So my thing would be to advocate for the laws to require a certificate in defensive pistol training.
Well, that's where you have
Now,
to go. You have to go to the range and get certain amount of training.
exactly, you go to the range, you do a night shoot, you do a live fire shoot, those kinds of things. Yes, it would cost you some money, but you don't want a man to take your gun and kill you and your family. Or you don't want to become a target because you have air fuel, right? Well, I have fuel and a fire, not just I have fuel. Air fuel, you can't do anything with the book, really, right? So I would say that we need to also look at not just a certificate of competency, but a defensive pistol training that will teach someone how to maneuver, how to use, and how to approach a situation where there's active engagement. And
Exactly,
I think that
and
is
the scenario rehearse with your family. What should be done should this happen? Where you should retreat from? Do not engage with me. Or do not get in the way. You have to cover all these things with your family, and all of that. For instance, you
exactly,
have your gun. You
exactly.
have a gun in a shopping mall, and you go to the ATM in the shopping mall, and somebody come and stick a knife in your waist, or they then put a gun in your waist. I mean, you how do you maneuver yourself? There's kids around you. How do you fire that gun at that point? You have to be able to think.
Or Gary, bandits come in your house, you draw your weapon, and then have a fight. You have to know how to maneuver yourself. You don't want to kill your wife and children by
No, and
mistake.
fire a stray bullet will hit somebody. So you need to go over these things with
Exactly.
your family, and then depends on the size of your house and how things are located. So you have to. These are all scenarios that would have to be,
Right.
to be,
And
rehearsed.
the only way you can achieve that is through training. When it comes to a firearm, nothing comes easy.
I
It
mean, we see
comes
these
through
police officers
training.
shooting themselves, and and all this kind of thing. So a lot
Let
of
me put it
training
like
has
this,
to be
yo.
done.
I have seen people who wear uniform and not security officers. I don't want to call the branch
Yeah, 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 yeah,
or the department for anybody to laugh. I have seen people who wear uniforms when they're under a live fire situation, they drop the gun, because when they hear a firearm back behind their head, they get so frightened. You drop your gun. I've seen it. I have
it make
trained
you jump.
people.
It make you jump.
Yeah, exactly. A man rattle uh, um one of those Uzi behind you, right? Or you're in a room and the man point the weapon in the air and he start to shoot just to scare you. You wouldn't even remember you have a gun, you know. So it is all about training, and I think that is where we need to look at, and that will offer the mitigating factors
Right.
as it relates to the safety aspect of giving more people firearms.
It has to be. Well, I know Dr. Rambo has a long experience with that too. So, but I mean, it's definitely something I've been advocating for from the initial stage, and I'm happy to have that repeated here, with that the people it sinks into
Well,
people, and the legislators what should be done.
yeah. So unfortunately, I have to leave now. I have something I need to say about, and I have a
Thank
very
you,
early
Danny, for taking
morning
the time.
tomorrow. So
Yeah.
you guys have a good night. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
All right, then. Thanks. So, Dr. Rambo, Mr. Singh, thank you, Donny, for joining us, and we'll catch up soon. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Yes, Gary. There have been a lot of issues in the agriculture sector, but pre larceny is perhaps the biggest demotivator for it.
Well, I mean,
And
media larceny, as Donnie saying, it goes to a far range, not just
correct.
yeah. So
People
he break it
think,
down for us a little bit. So
yeah. But then what about the unreported ones? That maybe make it 400% or more, because a lot of the minor things they don't report. Or somebody, animals damage your
but
crop.
thinking of the extent, it's more than just some, like you said, somebody just take some body from you. And you have equipment lost, you have a lot of things. It goes beyond that.
Beyond that, correct. So a lot of the period larceny could be unreported. Again. So one thing you didn't mention that it turnaround time for some of these crops. It's not always possible to plant as soon as you harvest, or while the crop are growing, you can replant and so on to ensure continuity of the production, because our climate and so on does not really suit that type of agriculture, because we have two seasons, a dry season and a rainy season. And now with climate change and all these things coming into having an impact, that's another variable you have to, that enters the mix. So there's only so much you could do with agriculture, but I heard the Minister of Agriculture, he spoke last month, and he said his goal was to reduce it by a couple million, $2 or $3 million, the food import bill.
Right. I mean, that's the goal. But I mean, finally, we have a government that's on the side of the farmers, and they have been that the extent of the destruction within the industry, we have a lot of work to put in place. To get us. We not even on ground. We underground. So that makes it more difficult for us to come up there, and the farmers, the way I always look at the farmers have enough to deal with, and we need supportive administration that do
Correct.
not complicate the process of whatever they're trying to access resource. And we need that support um, for them, when they're in distress, that we respond effectively.
Yeah, what we have to do is, because we have a high incidence of serial larceny, and it's really bad. I mean, we have land in Rio Claro, and sometimes when you go up there, we go once and see all these beautiful mangoes and oranges, lemons and yams and things. And when you go back the next 2 weeks, you don't find any. And the guys are selling it out the road. Now, I think that what there are a lot of things that, if you do it, it's not politically correct. And this has been a problem with all governments. If you really want to reduce some of the crime in this country, some of the actions will have it is not politically correct. All right, and this is what causes it, because if they do it, they might have some problems and they wouldn't get votes and all sort of things, and they might have people.
You're referring to the level of enforcement and how we go about it?
Well, enforcement is one thing, but you can't enforce everywhere that somebody's going into a garden. I mean, it's virtually impossible. So what you have to do is, if you drive in the countryside in Canada, I mean, I can talk about Canada. I'm sure in North America it's the same thing, and in Europe, right? When you drive and you have corn selling, right? Sweet corn, yeah? And you're driving and you have strawberries. You will see these people on the side of the road, and they will have this sign, where you're selling strawberries and corn, right? When you go in and you're driving, you'll see a little certificate which is posted on a building or somewhere when you go in, right? That they have been certified as a farm or whatever it is, and they can produce and sell on the side of the road. In other words, then there is a process. Now, if I go across in Trinidad and I see a lot of these people who are selling, let's put it this way: if the people who are stealing the fruits right, and selling it. They are selling it on the side of the road, or they're selling it to persons who are selling it on the side of the road. They're not selling it to persons who are going to go to a market, right, and sell it in the market. Or they might sell it to those persons who are going in the retail market, not the wholesale market. So what I'm trying to say, if you are selling something in front of your house, the government has to implement some sort of certification or licensing or permission or permit, right, that allows you to sell these things. If you go in San Fernando by the mall, you'll see people lay out a set of fruits and it causes a lot of traffic, right? Under the local government laws, people are not supposed to sell fruits and vegetables on thing in certain areas where it causes traffic, right? It's a hindrance to motorists. So if they begin to enforce some of these things, but by enforcing it, some bona fide persons are not able to sell their produce, right?
All right.
Because the markets are not, not everybody will go to the market. So we don't have a problem where people have their self because of the economy and thing, and you have a garden and you sell your fruits in front of your house, right? What we have a problem is somebody come and take your fruits, right, and go down the road and selling the fruit without even a farm, right, without having a tree, right, and they can't justify that they have any tree or farm. And what I'm saying is that this is the people that we need to enforce the law on, because a lot of them are stealing the fruits and selling it out there, or selling it to other people to sell it. So my suggestion is that anyone and every corporation going around, right, they should go and give, people should apply for a permit to sell the fruits, right, in front of their house, or to have a small shop or whatever and sell it. Now, in shops and parlors, right, they have certain laws in the country that you have to have food badges and all this sort of thing. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a process by which we could have some sort of idea of a parlor or something selling fruits and whatever. They have to have a food permit. What I'm trying to say now is we should have a permit, right, to sell certain fruits and produce that are local, okay? And this should be regulated, right? And in this way, we might be able to reduce a large number of persons who are illegally stealing other people's fruits and selling it on the side of the road. Because face it, they're not going to go out to a market and sell because they can't afford a stall in the market. One, they're not selling it to any big manufacturers because there's a process there through the Ministry of Agriculture and the food stock, and you have to have a certificate and where it comes from and all of these things. So there's a whole process there. All these people are doing is they're going by the side of the road all over the place and they're putting up these stores and they're selling nice avocados that they steal from somebody up in Rio Claro. They're selling the coconuts. I mean, I have a beach house in Mayaro, right? I have about 15 coconut trees, and I swear to God, right? I don't get a coconut. I don't get a coconut. Now I have cameras. I see when they come, right? But the problem is that if you do anything to that area there and you tell anybody no and you tell them whatever, you know what I'm gonna do? They're gonna burn down your house.
Yeah.
Because you're not there. All right. So you see now, it's a thing that to lose $1,000 a month in coconut, right? You might as well you get your house burned down. That's an example of predial larceny. That is in other words, and this is the same coconut they're coming down in Gulf City here, or why I go in and spend $50 for a bottle of coconut water? It's probably my coconut I'm buying anyway.
Correct.
You understand? Now, what I'm saying is that if you're selling coconut, you should have a permit. And if you have a permit, they should have investigations ever so often randomly where they trace you back to find out if you actually have a coconut estate. And if you don't, you should show a track record of where you buy it from and whom you buy it from. You understand? And you must be able to produce that certificate for the police, right? Or the law enforcement, predial officers, when they come by your coconut stall or your Zabuka stall or your tomato stall or whatever it is. Good. We will encourage farmers, right, who have produce and they're not marketing it in a large scale and they have their home gardens to sell their produce in front of their lots or their farms or whatever it is, just like they do it in North America and wherever it is. And anyone who's selling by the side of the road in Gulf City or in front of the grocery or in stores where it's obstructing traffic, right away you put a stop to that, right? And hopefully build some marketplaces or something like little areas where people can stop in and get food. And anybody where you're going, then they must have a certificate like they have in North America that shows that they are certified by whoever it is, local government or agriculture, to sell the produce, and there is a track record of where the people are getting this produce. It's a bona fide, right, produce that is coming legally from a certain source, right? And if anybody is found with any fruits or anything that is stolen, right, then these persons should be locked up, arrested. You understand? Or charged, as the case may be. Now, if we are going to go that way, that is the only way. The only way. Because how much these fellas go in your land 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Who is going to be doing that? I mean, how much drones are going to be put up to monitor them? These are things. Yes, it's good, but drones are expensive. Right? There are people to monitor it. You wouldn't be seeing 7 days a week. Those guys know exactly when that drone passing. So when the drone go down the road, they come in. Because they have drones to watch your drones. So it's just a solution that is in developed countries, right? Where if you're selling anything on the side of the road, you have to have certification. We don't want to inhibit that, because a lot of people make their little few dollars, to buy their little clothes and things for Carnival and Christmas and things. Fine, but at least you must justify where you got your foods from, and you must have a paperwork that shows you where you purchase it and your receipt. Because if I pass there and you're certified and you're registered by the Ministry of Agriculture as a certified seller of fruits, you must have a track record of where you got those fruits from. You have to get it. You can't come out with 45 Zabuka one morning and tell me you have a tree, right? And if the police go back and see you don't have a tree, you have to show me where you got it, who you buy it from, what is the receipt, right? I think this is what we need to do. Or at least one of the things we need to do.
I see if you look at Amazon and many other sites, you will see they're selling these solar energy cameras that you could tie on a tree and put it in your garden and stuff like that. And
so that will help. That will help the owners, right? It will help. I mean, you know, when you go to camping and thing, when we go to Canada and we go to shoot for hunting and whatever, right? We put the cameras on the trees, right, in the night and whatever, and we monitor for a few days to know where the animals are passing and whatever it is, so that when we actually go on the hunt, we have an idea where the deer will be, etc. Right? So the thing about it is that cameras are being used, which actually feed back to the residents' home. So these are some of the things that we could assist at least the persons who have the farms or who have the lots of land.
So these are some of the avenues.
Yeah.
But when we grew up, in the sugarcane days, you had the estate police was moving around, in these back roads with the jeep and thing.
My father was one of them. He was one of the estate police for Caroni. And
right.
They used to be parked up in the middle of the night going to see who was stealing the cane and all this sort of thing. Because people used to actually steal the cane, right, and make sugar, the juice, right, cane juice and whatever it is. Yeah, I mean that was a big thing. I mean that was one of my father's biggest responsibilities.
So we need that kind of patrolling from the police within the agricultural area. They're patrolling. I mean there has to be some legislation where we keep the defense force engaged.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think that, remember where we talked about before, right? The human body, right, detects a problem, right, when the problem starts to cause a symptom, right? And in that way, now you have if you translate that to the nation, right, you have what is called an early warning system. Good. An incident reporting system. So if the owners of land, the owners of property, right, have a means where they could report a theft, right, a pretty larceny incident in the night when they get up in the morning and they do their walk, they see that they blah blah blah. So once you begin to get a clearinghouse of all those reports, right, in other words, and it comes to a database, yeah, and I see in the NOC that I have 45 reports coming from an area in Rio Claro, or 26 from Citrus.
You're narrowing down.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. So you begin to see a pattern. And when you begin to see a pattern now, you can allocate optimal resources. You see, if you go to send a fellow police officer and a jeep all over the country, eventually you're going to be wasting resources. So and that is why I'm preaching for the NOC to be a proper NOC and not just for for murders and gang and whatever, and they're concentrating only on police issues. They have the wider aspect of crime, and I'm very passionate about this. I'm going to be very hurt, right, if they don't include other areas like this same thing where information is coming in from the community, right, and it's fed through a system where it comes in the NOC. And 24/7, you could actually generate a report that says how many pretty larceny reports occurred during the night. That way, now you can begin to focus your resources. It will be more cost effective, cost efficient, and cost quality effective and cost quality efficient, because people are going to get returns. Then you will generate more people in the countryside, and seeing that you're going to be arresting a few of these buggers. You know what I mean? So, in other words, then I do feel that having that incident reporting system and that early warning system is very important at the NOC where it collects the data. You see, we have to get this. Everything has to be done properly, right? It has to be done properly. And if you have one number, you don't even have to call 911. No. You could go on an app or text, you know what I mean, and text the 911. You don't even have to go and call them and say, "Hello, can I speak to an operator?" You could text to the 911. You could text it as a app that you could get, and you make your complaint, and
Well,
you click and it goes up.
Gary Griffin has the TPS app, and where you can fill a report, and this is something we need to relook at, where we do that. But one of the things I'm thinking about, Doc, you know, maybe some communities can create their own center where
Yeah.
they start using drones, and you have some young people, because waiting and begging and preaching, and I think we would have to go on a local level with this thing too, not
Yeah,
just
no,
on the national level.
no. As I said, everything. You see, it's in my opinion, it's not. It's just not no one thing. Everything has to work, and that what you're saying there is something that could be done, and it is done, right? I mean, I was giving you the example, Samantha, of my brother who lives in Union Hall, right, by Ramco, right? They didn't get any alerting messaging system from the government or a siren or nothing from Ramco. No, every company, right, that has a fence line, right, that is affected by any of the hazards in that company are supposed under our energy ministry to have a corporate responsibility, right, where they inject some money into the fence line communities, right, and develop programs that mitigate these hazards. Yes, my brother lives there, and he's been there for many, many, many years, and that has not existed. So the
But
point I'm making is that yes,
but,
they
but I'm saying maybe we can't wait
yeah
for
he,
these
they
things. So
set up a neighborhood watch group, right?
right,
So what they did, they
using
were able
drones
to
and
communicate.
right,
Yeah, they were
yeah.
able to communicate with each other, right? Because they had this WhatsApp group, right? And they were able to connect to a few people, and the other set of people who were not on the group. They went and they wake them up and they shake them up, and they all went and they walked out of their homes and they went to the top of the hill, right? In away from the incident. So
Right.
I think that the people have gotten together. What we need to do is to have an integrated approach to what exists already. We don't want to go and reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
The
on the
councillors,
community level, let's go back down to the
yeah,
community level.
the councillors should run
You have a
this,
bullhorn. You have a
right?
bullhorn because
Good,
and you for emergency.
right. You have
And
your street captains that were working for
right,
your political elections. You get your street captains, give them some work to do now. I mean, election is over. They always say we only go during elections. Get the street captains, right? Get your councillors, right? Let them go to the high risk communities, right? Let them mobilize some of the persons and say, okay, you all have WhatsApp. Everybody has WhatsApp, right? Everybody has a phone and it has a data and it has Wi-Fi. Come on. So let us, if all you have an existing neighborhood group and all you connect on WhatsApp, you try to involve as much people as possible, because you and I know there are some people who don't even want to get involved in their own village. But the good thing about it is that it's like vaccination. You have herd immunity. If you vaccinate a certain number of people, you protect the other people who don't want to be vaccinated. That's how it works. So if you have enough people in a community, right? For the people who don't want to get involved, you'll still be protecting them because you are able to communicate.
Well, some people have a kind of wait and see till let me see how we going, and then they go come
Correct.
there. They are
No, I agree
followers.
with you. I agree with you. Suman, what do you
Yes,
think?
sir, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking along the line in that, throwing this out there that communities can organize themselves and some may have money to buy certain things, like equipment to enhance the group capability. And we do our own surveillance and then we feed the information to the police because if we're waiting for this to come from the top, we could be waiting another 10 years, and
Well,
it may never ever happen to.
it's the same system that I had talked to. I think, I don't know if you remember, Suman, we were talking about border security.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
and I remember when I had suggested when I went to Singapore, right? They have these buses like these tour buses, like these big buses we have in PTSC, right?
Mm.
It's air conditioned. But what they do when you go now and you go into the bus, you press a button and then the side of the buses they open down, right? The buses have a little kitchenette. There's a washroom, right? It's worked with diesel. It's air conditioned, right? It has good ventilation, right? And when you put it down, it's almost like a camping vehicle, right? You just think about it, right? Along the coastline of Trinidad and Tobago, the major coastlines, right? Ever so within a certain amount of distance, let me say 100, maybe 2 kilometers, 10 kilometers, or whatever. I mean, I'm just saying, and you have your buses there with military personnel, right? Instead of having them in the barracks, right, or in the thing, you have them there. You rotate them, and they have the drones, right? Because the thing about drones is you have battery issues and you have distance issues, right? So what you have is it could go to a certain distance and then it has to come back, right? So basically, what you do is you have this connected all over the place, and you link up all those videos to the NOC, right? The military has their own command center, which I visited once when I was in ODPM, and the NOC has the overall command center where the feed, right, of certain issues from the military command center will come in. And what we had from the NOC as well is that the police command center was also feeding information back and forth to the NOC. The NOC was like the brain for all the intelligence centers in the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Well, we
allows,
need to create the
yes,
local NOC because
yeah,
in order to really get what I'm shooting at here is the community based NOC in the
right.
sense that that we get a handle on things here.
Right. So you see, like what I was saying is that a lot of these same drones, right, that are going to be looking at your human trafficking and your both illegal migration and guns and drugs coming into the country, and you're looking at your whole East Coast, your South Coast, in particularly your West Coast, where the swamps and thing are, right, where people come in the middle of the night and they bring in a lot of guns and all sort of thing. So I'm saying that once you are able to sort of control your borders, right? The drones also pick up a lot of the fruit trees and things like in the Cedros area, Icacos, a lot of the coconut estates, right? In East, when you have from Mayaro, come up right to Manzanilla, all of these are coconut and whatever estates. So the drones also will assist in the same thing we're talking about pre larceny, where the density of the population is not as high. You see, where farms are large scale farms with a lot of land, so you don't have much residents in the area to have this ability to do the community policing or the community communication, right? So it will work in a lot of the areas like Rio Claro, where our land is, right? A lot of the areas like going down and see going down to like Point 14, right, where people have a lot of land and a lot of fruits growing in Barrapo, right, in all those areas where you have a lot of predial larceny, right? In this way, you'll have as you say, a joint or integrated approach to the data that is coming in from your soldiers on your borders, from your community persons who have the little village groups and the little groups in the areas. All of that will be fed back either via a phone app or the 911 call center, which will feed back to the NOC, right? So you have understanding of the incidents as they are reported, so you have a good idea, right? Then we talked about the regulation of persons selling fruits and vegetables and other items on the side of the road, right? The regulation of persons who are selling it in cities and towns, obstructing traffic, right? So you enforce a lot of the laws that need to be enforced, and you have to be also providing an alternate space for valid bona fide persons who wish to sell their produce, who for some reason can't get it to the market. Then the Ministry of Agriculture have to say, well, look, we have this program where we want to buy all the tomatoes and get manufacturing industries to to put these tomatoes in tins, and if you have hunts, tomatoes, and you have all of these foreign goods that we bring down, and when you pass, sometimes, man, you have tomatoes, they're selling it so cheap because they had to get rid of the tomatoes, right? I mean, sometimes when you pass, you see cucumbers and whatever. These things could be pickled, right? Because we buy pickled cucumbers, we buy pickled, tomatoes in tins, and we use it when we're making our pasta sauce and when we're making our little oysters and whatever it is. So, I mean, the thing about it is that these are opportunities, right, to get rid of some of the things that Donnie just talked about when you have glut in some of the produce that you have. you know and so everything, so if you have that and your farmers can get the produce to these manufacturing industries, the demand for it, right, will become greater, right? The prettier larceny will become less, and the country will begin to strive in the agricultural sector, which is important. I mean, it's just my piece, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough, Doc. But I always say these things have to be driven from the top. If your advisors and the ministers and so on do not share that opinion, or they have their own way of approaching it, then when you face it, the man on the street, the farmer, they know most of the solutions for everything. Yeah? They know when to plant, what are the flooding issues, when this and that. They know the information is in the ground.
Yes, too bad, but the thing about it, unfortunately, the world we live in, sometimes you have to grab the bull by the horn and don't let the bull dominate you.
Absolutely. So people need to take the initiative. Yes, I agree with that. I mean, long ago, everybody in the lagoon
We have
there,
to force the politicians to follow instead of we following them. Tell you the truth.
but that's a challenge, Gary. That is a challenge. To get them to listen.
Well,
But
I think I won't say too much about that, but some of my bad behavior have caused people to listen. So we need a few more people making some noise.
absolutely, that's right. But it can be handled. I'm sure it can be handled. You need to have to take the political will to ensure that it happens. And there's nothing.
Political will can be convinced by citizen will. So the
That would be
citizen will
nice.
have to be strong
That
enough to convince the political will, and that's the point I want to make.
that would be nice. I will agree with that anytime. But we
Well,
know how to
I'm giving a
incorporate.
sense of direction on the citizenry that you take some course of action and you force the will of the political will.
I have my doubts, but I agree with you. Let's agree to disagree there. But these things have to be driven from
That's
the
how it
top.
gets done. That's how it gets
Yeah,
done.
but you see, it comes back to the same question. Then, if that is the case, is the best people employed for the job that gets the job? You ask that question. And if the answer is yes, fine. That's the best way. But if the answer is no, what happens? That's my contention.
You see, I tell you what. All
My
right,
take is I'm a rebel with a cause.
So man,
Yeah,
like I have I mean, I don't know. For the last 10 years, we tried to maybe send letters or whatever to the PNM, giving them advice, and of course they refused it because they probably branded us or You know, I don't know if it's the same thing. They just didn't want to hear from us, right? Sometimes I'm talking about advice that comes from the
Well, Doc,
from the journals, right?
if you are raping the treasury and allowing your hooligan supporters to rob people,
Yeah.
why would you be interested in that?
But it's
You see,
supposed
so
yes.
this is the problem. The frustration is now you for the past 10 years you're trying to do it and you can't get through, right? And now, well, albeit it's early. I mean, the thing is, we keep saying it's early, so we have hope that our ministers will eventually listen or maybe take some advice. All right. Um, and because we have to wait on the budget to be approved, we have to wait on money to do things. That's the first thing. You can't do anything, no matter
And
how small it is, without
they
money.
have to reinvent the wheel in some instances.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of
Right.
times, I mean, we know the deficiencies, right? But unfortunately, because of the extent of the political partisanship, that is where, because you are out of power for so long, you have these trusted persons that you were with, who stuck with you, who were there with you, right, through thick and thin, so to speak, right? They went to the meetings, and although they weren't doing much really on the ground, they were there, they were around you, right? They are your friends that, you know, you went to catch fish together, you went to lime together. So all of these people are around the ministers, and a lot of the younger ministers would have had friends who we don't even know about. They have their own friends, their own groups, right? So when political assignments come around, right, if they have any degree of competency, or even some probably don't even have, or they have any past history, these are the persons who will, because of that political component, right, of what we are talking about in this conversation, they will get appointed, right? They will become the advisors, they will find a place for them, they will get on the boards, right? They will get, and the same thing PNM did, right? So in other words, then, okay, so right now we have a lot of our boards are not appointed. In fact, none of the RHA boards have been appointed, right? So even if we are going to go to we talked about the emergency healthcare services, that's one.
Mhm.
Good. Second thing, we talked about the emergency services. Look at what we're talking about here, the response time of the fire services, right? I mean, in all of our conversation, I am not hearing fire at all in that first 15 minutes of that person's death yesterday. I mean, we're talking, we're hearing Venezuelans there, but
They were-
somewhere along the line, I would have liked to hear a fire officer came and they said, well, it was too late for us, right? When we came, the lady had already died. But we were there to help extract the victim from the car. You know what I mean? I saw a wrecker pulling out the car. So the thing about it is that, you know, this is the problem. So you have the political component. Now, here is where Sumant and I, we are saying, and of course you, Gary, Mr. Dr. Maraj is saying it. I think Donita to an extent said it today. Ved Siraram said it. We have to have a number of persons within that non-political framework or political framework, or supporters of the party, who have the subject matter expertise that is allowed to provide advice, either as a consultant group, right, or as we say, a think tank, or as somebody embedded in the service, in the government service, whether it's at the board level, or whether it's at the government official level, where you become a government official, or there's a post, you know, that is available for you to, you know, to be appointed to, or give a, you know, or at least, you know, apply for the job. In that case, now there's a balance, right, Samant? Isn't that?
Yes,
There's a balance.
yes.
We're not saying that everybody should be like this, but there must be a balance, and that balance, even if the person doesn't go, you know, we will agree to align to the minister's policy. Some of the ministers are subject matter experts, like Dr. Bodo, you know, the legal people who are in the offices, like, you know, Devesh and all of these people. These are
Correct.
subject matter experts within the ministry. It's fine.
Brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, they have their own ideas. They have their own plans for 10 years. You know, they were vexed. They saw what PNM was doing, and we are not saying that we are going against those general strategic plans that they have in their minds or what they propose. I mean, they lie down in their bed for 10 years and they sit down and say, "When I become minister, if I become minister, this is what I'm going to do." And you can't really go and say, "Well, hey, this is what the world is saying. Don't do that. Do this." So we have to be careful and facilitate a discussion, facilitate the implementation of, right? Work with the people who are there. So this is what we're saying. We're not going to take over, or we're not going to say, "Well, this is what you have to do." Yeah, we could say that here in this forum. We could say, "Well, these are the recommendations," but then when you reach there,
Well, our recommendation is on the World Wide Web, so they can pick from what they want to use.
yeah.
Yeah, but
We're not hesitating to recommend. It's up to them what they want to pick, what they want to
yeah,
use.
but Gary, stop right there. Let me take a pen. Who is doing that, or who is extrapolating from what we are saying to implement it or be part of it or to complement what the boards are doing or the ministry is doing? You see, this is where the breakdown in communication is. We may be preferring the best suggestions. We may be, or we may be given a new perspective, which should be considered as well. See, offering suggestions is just as important as showing up mistakes which can happen on the road. So we don't know all the solutions. We don't know all the mistakes which they can make, but we can point these out as well. So we complementing the work what the ministries or the boards are doing. Right? That is basically it, and providing an objective framework. You don't want to be yes men and yes women, or you saying what the minister wants to hear or the prime minister wants to hear. When the time you start to do these things, you're no longer objective. You just she wants to hear this.
Between 2010 and 2015, a lot of suggestions I made, some of it was taken into consideration. You think they contact me and say, "Thank you, Gary"? Right? No. But it was done, and that was good enough for me. So you would not get that. A lot of times you would not get that. I mean, our prime minister still has the decency to say thank you, or she would, if she have to interject, she will say something. But most of the time, I mean, I'm just talking when the government is operating. I mean, they pick what they want to pick because I made my rant publicly. And they went about their business. So,
but a new line of ministers here and a whole new approach for governance. This may not happen this time around. Just one thing.
This time along, we have a greater platform, and I mean, I still say we have to give them time, but at the same time, we are not backing down. If we don't see what we think is needed, we will all fiercely reiterate it.
If you think that will work, but I still, from my perspective, I really think that we should have this group of experts or this think tank externally, and people with the subject matter knowledge can be part of any board, not being appointed but providing information as to, hey, you know what, you guys do this thing, look out for these things go down the road. Expect some challenges. Because remember, how the boards are selected. The board is just a mirror of the management team, Because board members are like, there will be a board member who is, has financial capability. Another one may have HR capability, and one may have marketing capability, and so on like that. And that is how boards are appointed. So when they approach the CEO of that organization, the CEO is the link between the management of his company and the board of directors. So that is where the actions should take place. They carry out the function, they give the direction, what they want to see. That is, the board give the direction, what they want to see based on the plans and so on you formulate for the organization. Now, if that strategic plan has shortcomings, the board doesn't pick it up, the company CEO doesn't pick it up, what happens? And we can identify, say, hey, look, if you do not do this, the X is going to happen. But they're not scoring the landscape to see our suggestions. What's going to happen? You see, certain boards are doomed to failure upfront. Again, what Doc is saying is quite true. They have to give supporters, and they have to, they should. I have no problem with giving supporters, but some of them need to have the competencies as well to carry out the mandate, the development, the 15 growth poles that they identify. In this, you can't only have supporters who just support them and sit down every month and go to a meeting and collect in there whatever they collect. No. Development doesn't occur like that. You know, it has to be driven by something. And I look at boards, I see them, and then I say, oh my God, the same old face there all over. Oh, what has he done or what has she done to improve the stock? You know, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that our proposal is, well, the think tank is definitely something that, well, at least the consultancy group that we could pull together, right? I think that,
Okay, so you want an official recognition that we are an
well, you
official
see,
think
yeah.
tank?
Now
Is that what you're looking at?
this. Remember, we said we could go through this boy Saddam Hussein, right, who is the strategic planning officer for NATEX, right? So I think that now they had the little elections, and the prime minister, of course, is the leader now. So I think since that has settled down a bit, right, and I said they're going to be a little break in parliament, until September, right? So I feel that the timing is good now.
Opportune time, yes.
Yeah, I said that what we can do, and it's of course pre-budget, right? We could but first of all, we just have to get about 3 or 4 or 5 other persons who could join us. We have Donny, not sure how far he's willing to become one of our external advisors, but we could obviously bring. We have Mr. Siram. I'm not sure what he's so we have people already, and we might be able to get a couple or 2 or 3 other people
We
to
have
go
Arjun,
with.
who is by the central, was former central bank.
Right.
He couldn't stay too
Good.
long tonight.
So let us at least, we should have our sort of ideology, right, as to what we intend to achieve. So firstly, we have to get that group going, and we could use it on this forum. I mean, we could invite. I mean, you don't have to
But
join every night.
as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, the group is already going, because
Right. I think this
a
is
lot of
what
the things that you have said to me,
it's
I
there.
have forwarded.
So what we have to do is probably offline in another Zoom meeting or whatever we want to do, is we need to decide exactly what exactly we are going to be looking at. Now, what we have been saying, Mr. Singh, myself, I heard it from Donny today, is that one of the key things or the key wins, right, in terms of trying to get UNC to stay in power for the next 5 to 10 years or even 15 years, is that is the only way a lot of the things that we are talking about will begin to take root and grow.
Okay, but Doc,
Okay,
I need somebody who is physically on the ground there to assist
you
with
see,
that. I am overseas, so this
the
is
thing
where I
about
depend
it,
on you,
you
Arjun,
see,
and
the
whoever is
on the
there.
ground, remember I told you to call me. We'll talk when you have some time. And we didn't get to talk today because we were trying to hook up with Toko Sangi Randy, right? But I need to talk to you about something. But anyway, what we are saying is that on the ground can be taken in inverted commas, because you see, on the ground right now means that you have to have a physical space, right? And that space, or that you have to engage with somebody
Well, you
or
already tried
somebody. You have to
Waldorf, and the
engage.
reception
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not
You
good.
have to engage either with the party or with some government ministers, right? So what I'm saying is that on the ground, you can't really do anything on the ground unless you have a facilitation or something that gets you an audience or gets you to meet with someone or gets somebody to hear. So we
Correct.
can get our act together. We will get our group together. We already have about 5 or 6 people anyway. So I think we're there already. All we have to do is amongst ourselves, we need to have a plan of action as to how we are going to get embedded to either through the NATEX portal or through the government portal or both, right? And in each one of us, maybe, I mean, Sumant, as they appoint the boards, as you have expressed interest in going out to Davie campus and they're fixing it right now, right? We may be able to get involved in it as the positions open, and a lot of them are saying, hold on, keep the faith, right? We will get there, because right now, as I told you, a lot of the boards have not been appointed. A lot of the positions have not been filled. A lot of the ambassador positions have
As
not
we
been filled,
understand too, is
you
that they're
know.
doing some restructuring, right? So that would take a
Right.
little time.
So yeah. So the thing about it is that we have to wait it out, and we want to push it, but we have to have our plan.
Well,
So
that's what I've been saying from day one. A plan of
yeah,
action.
and we have it. The thing about it is that it's very easy to pull things once you reach a certain stage in your life where you're SME for for how many 50 what? Samantha, how much you have? About 60 years or 50 years in this?
Yeah,
You have your, I mean, we can't even count the years in terms of consecutive years, but the whole years of experience of everything, collective
Right. So
experience.
you
Yeah.
guys could pull that together in a jiffy.
That listen, we could pull a document in one night. So it
one
is
night
not even
is
is not something that is so difficult, because those things are there. You ask me to talk about NOC, we pull a document for you. You ask me to talk about emergency services, in one night you have it. The thing is, those things are the easy part. The hard part is to find out exactly what they need, not what they want, what they need, right? So I
And
am
what are they
I,
willing
I
to
am
accept,
saying
isn't it?
that in what we have discussed over the program, if I feel I have to summarize it a bit, is what we are saying is that they need to establish a business process, right, in whatever they're doing at the NATEX level as well as at the governance level. They need to establish a business process, because once they put in a business process, like the Nikes and the IBMs and the Amazons and and the big businesses, the global big businesses, they have a very seamless business process,
hmm
so that whether you change the executive, whether you change the enterprise level or the grassroots level, right? Whether you have a economic downturn, whether you have COVID that pulled the world for 2 years, these companies survive because they utilize the holes, because they have a business process, and they are able to adapt like an organism, right? They could change as the environment changes, right? They may not have a big bottom line, or the bottom line might drop, but that is part of the business process, right? So I am saying, because you have a political component, which the ministers and the prime minister, right, and they can't not do. They have to put their friends and whatever on the board, right? Fine, they have to put them at the political level in a number of the boards. We are saying, to have a good business process, we have to have the competencies to manage, right? So the ministers must become managers. Good. The board members, not all of them, but at least they must have a management process, and somebody within the board or out of the board as an advisor for the minister could be able to integrate what is happening. For example, in RHA, in the Ministry of Health, you have one, two, three, four, five boards. Yes. So if each board is doing their own thing, and you don't have integrated healthcare systems, and the minister has this policy, and not every board is doing the thing, you need to have the advisor, whoever that is, or whoever it is, or the chief medical officer, whatever it is. They have to establish a business process that allows the government to go for the next 15 years by establishing that process. So you have to train people, train your managers, train them in business processes on the job. You know what I mean? So I feel that that is what we say. So if we go that way, right, we could sit down with, and then key to what we were saying, Sumant, if I remember correctly, is that in order to establish a strategic plan or have a good business process, you need to have an assessment of the current status of all your ministries, all your entities, all your statutory authorities and everything. You have to have an assessment.
Yeah,
In
so
that assessment,
do your
you have to have
benchmark.
a dashboard of key performance indicators, right, at each level, right? Certain indicators have to bring back information to us, right, through SADAM if we want to go that way, or as the think tank advising the government directly via the public administration ministry if it is the best way to go, because that is the ministry that is involved in trying to integrate all the other ministries. Yes.
Yep.
So if we go that way now, we can actually say is either you have us as a think tank advising the government through the Ministry of Public Administration, blah, 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 or we go through the party itself, right, through the
That's it.
strategic planning officer, and we work with them. Certain key pieces of information, if the technical people has it, if your advisors have it, if they don't know what to do or whatever it is, we will give you a list, and this is what the think tank can do, our team can do now within the next few weeks or months. We can say, look, these are the list of information that we will require, because in order to advise and to make this a business process going forward, this is what we need. Because unless you don't have this, you cannot say that you're going to improve the country if you don't know what is your current status now. You can't improve something from A to B if you don't know what A is. And to know what A is, the business process, that is what big businesses and all small businesses that are successful is, they identify key performance indicators in all levels of the organization that is able to be measured, right, on a timely basis, right, depending on what kind of wins you have, whether short-term, long-term, or medium-term wins, right? And these indicators are to be fed to us, right? And you could be using them for yourself, fine. But we would love to get these, because this is how we can advise you on how the UNC, right, can create a strong foundation that is able to look at all aspects of your mission plan, right, for the party itself to stay in power, right, going forward. That's what I think we should do.
Yeah, if I may add, Doc, that
Yeah.
you just need to do this for one ministry.
Yeah.
Let us be a guinea pig and work out the kinks, and then as a mass, introduction for the other ministries to follow.
Yeah, sure.
It's the same process. The KPIs and things will be a bit different, but at the end, you're looking at the results, and the results are the outcomes which you want to have, and those outcomes have to be tied in to your 15 growth poles, which they identified now through their manifestos and having been incorporated at the manifesto level. So it's a chaining, backward and forward chaining. And now, if you do that for 1 minute, let's say you get health going, then to implement this in education and MP, public ad, and social services, and even homeland security and everything, you begin to benchmark, where you are at this point in time. After a year, where will you like to be? Okay, I want to like to see crimes down at 25%. Now, assuming you only have that 10%, then you identify your gaps and see where they are, where we fallen short. But you need to have that initial data so you can analyze things. That is so critical now. I really don't know how much information you can get from the ministries pertaining to their data.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, having worked over 20-something years in the public service, that a lot of senior persons tend to hog their data because they think if they expose that data, they wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
The thing that is their home.
I think that is the ideology that we need to propagate at this level, that we are going to be asking for the data and information. I think if that is the way that we need to go, I mean, in fact, that is what I propose as the way that we need to go. In other words, and we need to convince one or two of the key ministers, right? And even the Prime Minister, right, that in terms of in order to achieve something, and don't go down the road at what happened when we lost the elections after the People's Partnership was one of the People's Partnership had achieved so many things in this country in a
Correct.
short 3 years, if you
Yeah.
want to put it, 3 to 4 years, not even 5 years, 3 to 4 years of actual doing things, because they lost track in the last year, and of course it took them a year before they could even appoint some of the boards, right?
So how about
So in
this
other
Dr.
words, in
Barry?
3 years,
He's leader of government business. How about this
right,
Dr.
in
Barry?
3 years, so much was done by the People's Partnership, and they lost the election. Right? They boasted of what they did, and that didn't win them the election. So performance is one thing, right? But clearly there's something else, right, that needs to be done, right? And if you understand this country clearly, right, this country, I mean, and this is where I'm on the ground, right? I mean, I have the feedback from the people at all levels, right? In my practice at Rotary clubs, so I have a different level of feedback that tells me, it gives us a pulse of what is going on, right? This is a PNM country, whether you like it or not, right? And I mean, I'm being very, 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 very frank. This is a PNM country, right? You could take that and put it and put it inside inside your psyche and leave it there. In other words, then the default party in this country is PNM, right? And if we don't watch ourselves, they're going to come back again after 5 years, right? Whether, right, we fix all the bridges, we pave all the roads, right? We put everybody in the schools, we open the university, right?
Give them the
We
10%
reduce
and
crime.
everything.
We
Give them
reduce
salary.
crime. We do everything, right?
Yeah.
In 5 years' time, because of the way that this country's electorate votes,
Yep.
right? All we need, right, is the marginal seats to go one way, right? And people from the PNM actually come out and vote instead of withholding their votes like they did last time, because they were
Correct.
not happy with Stuart Smith and what Rowley was doing, even within the party. If these people now come back just because they want PNM to come back in power, not for any other reason. Now, I'm being quite clear about this, right?
I analyze it like that myself now.
Yes,
Very
they don't care.
sensitive.
Listen, they don't care, right? If the UNC give all the children in the country a toy for Christmas,
They don't care.
right? They don't care if you give them $1 million to all the single mothers in this country who have to buy milk. They don't
Free
care
milk. Yeah,
if
they
you
don't
give
care.
the artists $1 million for their songs up to first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. They don't care about that. All they want
It's
is
psyche.
that
It's a
they want
psyche.
PNM to become in power, right? When they have the party organized and they could see people that they could vote, right? So this is where both Samantha and I are saying, including Mr. Dr. Maraj and some other persons who are talking here, we say, if you establish a business process in governance and a business process in your party, you will institutionalize the party, that's one, and you will institutionalize the government by putting in things there in the government that allows you to secure another 5 to 10 years, right? And that is what we're saying. And the key to that is to put more managers, right? People who are astute at the business process, people who are measuring the performance, right? And a good corporate communications department of the party and the government.
Critical.
Right? In other words, then you need to communicate what you're doing in a scientific, and people are trained. When I say not just scientific, in a best practice manner, right? In other words, in accordance with modern day technology and teachings.
You
People
see,
go to university to learn about corporate communications, and they come out and they things.
One thing they teach you about that is you have to be in the public's face 24/7.
Yes.
On the public face, no matter what, you have to be getting that message out, and don't wait like they did in the last time. At the end of the 4th or 5th year, hey, I built 106 schools. I did this. Look at when PNM was there. The man to open a standpipe there in your face.
Yeah,
Oh,
correct.
cutting a ribbon for this thing, a
Yeah,
little
and
drain here.
when PNM won the elections again after the 5 years, right? The UNC didn't feel they were going to win it, right? They won it. You know why they won it? Again, it was the same reason. They didn't perform in the first 5 years of power, but yet they won the election again, right? And the only reason why they lost the election this time is because of what happened with Rowley and Stuart Young, and all of these people within the party.
Yeah,
People got just frustrated
correct,
and
correct.
vexed. One of the deputy leaders for PNM, what's her name? The lady who used to be in the PSA. She
Yeah,
buffed up Rowley and she said, "Leave this place. You have no function here again." Right? And that was the level of disgust. Right? But they're going to recuperate. And the
listen,
reason is that they have the strength of the manner in which the constituencies are set up, so that just voting, just going out to vote, right? And if they just go out to vote, the normal party group and all the lifetime members and children and the whole family,
exactly,
they will go out to
exactly.
vote. And once they go out to vote, they will vote out UNC, whether
And
they perform or not.
I'm saying this all along. I examine the data.
But
And
gentlemen, listen what I'm saying. Stop barking in the yard. Go and knock on the door. And
Easy,
you
easy to
understand what
say,
I'm saying?
Gary. Easy to say.
yeah,
It's
That's what I do.
which door?
All right. So I
I
made a
could go
suggestion.
next door. I could try and make a request to go next door and speak to the honorable prime minister. I could do that because she's just my neighbor. Even as a neighbor, I
I
could bake a cake
yeah,
and carry it across and say, "Neighbor, I have a cake for you." I mean, I could do that as a neighbor. But the point about it is that I understand what you're saying, Gary. I understand your passion, but knocking on the door, right? It's a big problem right now because all the ministers, right? They are going to work in the morning. They're not answering their phones. They might have other people who are actually reading the texts and the emails. Because, to
and
be quite
respond.
honest with you,
Yeah,
I feel that's what happens. Half of the time, they have other numbers that they communicate amongst each other and with the honorable prime minister. They probably have other emails that they liaise with. But the old emails or the general emails where they get all of us sending things to them like lock, stock, and barrel, and
yes.
even their phone numbers on this chat here, emergency chat. I'm suggesting that half of them don't read half of the things that we put up on the chat. Sometimes you see they're online, but they're not going to take the time to respond in any way. You see, so I think that communication is a problem.
For your information, I have other chats flowing, right?
Right.
And the response, it was there. I know they're overwhelmed. I so even
Yes.
you have seen certain people. I just added someone to it. So I've been dealing with these people on an ongoing thing, and you will see even uh, Minister Sicharan, Minister in the Ministry of Health, is him engaging in posting what he's doing there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's
we get it. We
that's
get the post. Yeah, we see it. Yeah.
I'm seeing it, Gary. But again,
Well,
you know,
maybe your engagement. You see, the thing about it is your engagement and my engagement is two different things.
All
So
right.
what I'm
But
saying,
maybe,
but the thing about it is that you are physically there. I have asked that you, Arjun, and
but if I get
whoever.
okay, I could tell you what,
So you
right?
talk to one
Because
guy,
I'm physically
he
here,
blow you
right?
off. But I'm
Maybe
saying
you could ask.
talk to Gabari, talk to Saddam. They know you.
yeah, but they are they
But
going
to
to
do
give
that,
you? I know them too. You see,
yeah,
Gary.
Suman knows them. I
Yeah, but
listen,
what
Gary.
I'm saying, Doc is
I'm here.
physically there. It's a difference
Yeah.
when you're physically there.
Okay. So what I'm saying, Gary, is I'm here, but okay. The Prime Minister Modi came, right? And I was not invited to go to that,
Not an invited list. That is what
right?
it is.
So therefore, I cannot meet with these people, right? If I have to go, I'll have to go into the MP's office and make an appointment to get there,
And you
right?
know what the wait time is.
I have been
Yeah.
trying to meet with the Minister of National Security, Homeland Security, as well as Border Security, and I have been sending WhatsApp messages I got a reply early in the term to
And they are in
contact,
the disaster group.
yeah, to
They are in
contact someone, and they are both in the disaster group, right? And I got a early warning. I got a communication from the Honorable Minister Wayne Sturge to connect with a young lady. I connected with her by phone initially, and she told me to send me information on WhatsApp, and I'm still waiting. And now it's about maybe what, May was the election.
2
Now we're
months.
in July, going in August, so it's about 2 months, roughly 2 months. I met with the Honorable Minister at the July 4th celebration, and I said, Honorable Minister, I'm Dr. Ramrup. And he said he knows me. I said, right. Don't forget, I mean, I'm trying to meet with you, but this is not the place and time for this. Nice to meet you. Have a nice evening. He said, okay, doc. And that was it. Right. And now it's about what, 2 weeks have elapsed already. And I mean, I haven't heard from his communique. Now,
well, knowing the fact
which
that all of
door,
the delinquents, you know.
which door do I knock now? I mean, I don't
Okay,
understand what I have to do.
you could stop there, Doc. Doc, stop there. Let me give you another door, which I had written to the. I don't know if you know. Last week there was a big tourism conference in Tobago.
Yeah. Yes, I saw
Right.
it. Yes.
I was part of that as well. I knew. Now, if you see what I wrote up about since in May, for discussion topics, both for the two ministers in Trinidad and for the THA to discuss. You know exactly, exactly those are the things. Is starting with LF, how you're going to make use of the airport, but you're not considering that they can't get international approval for it. They're not talking about these things, but this is a critical issue. How can you get Virgin to fly into Tobago with a second flight? Or British Airways on this thing because of the perimeter fence. They tell you that airlines tell you that, you know what you need to do so that we can fly in there. Okay, you need to have at least 800 high-end rooms. High-end means, okay, you know, I met with the guy personally in Kensington, his guy who owns Virgin Atlantic, Seth Bramson. He's told me, look, if I fill this 45 seats in first class, the rest of the plane is just gravy for me. Imagine that. You sell 45 first class seats and a 767, a 747, most of his planes are 747s, right? Those carry 465 persons, including a 44-member staff with air hostesses and flight engineers and what have you. But the thing is, they have strict criteria. Now, if you don't have 800 high-end rooms and they have bringing in all their high-end tourists, they want high-end rooms. So what is it? You're going to send them to 3-star and 2-star rooms in the island because they don't have 4- and 5-star rooms. So they cannot market to a destination like that. Like, you know, in Las Vegas, how the high rollers. We all know what the high rollers are. They don't pay to stay there, but they want the best of the best. And, you know, look at, you know, Sands Hotel and all these big Belushi and all of them. They just they don't charge you for your room because you're a high roller. You go there, spend millions on a weekend and so on. So this is what I'm saying, that basically everything, the model for development, they're still scrambling on that. What is the tourism model you're going to do for Tobago? Is it doing what I suggested with the Toco guy, Alonso? Is it a community-based tourism like a Castara model where you provide everything for them?
All right, yeah, but
Or,
man, we're going to talk certain things off here, all right? You know.
yes. The point I'm making is which door you're going to knock on. I sent it to the Minister of Tourism here. He says send it to somebody else. I never got a response. I say, in case you missed it, can you give me a little feedback? I still get a response. 2.5 months have gone. I had the same thing now they're going to be discussing last week on the 24th. You see, so again, I agree, Doc. The doors, which door do you knock on?
Okay, so Doc tried at the certain door at the
Well,
party level,
if
and
we
it didn't
if
work
they
out.
get me on
So
the
what I'm saying
invited
to you
list, I
now,
will be able to meet them.
Doc, hear what you
Well,
do. I'm gonna give you.
you know,
I brought Saddam in the group in the
Right.
consultant group that we have,
But
right?
I see he left. Didn't he leave?
He left.
Yeah, I see he left.
All right,
I don't see him there
so
again.
maybe it's too much for him. So
Yeah,
here what I do. I have him in
yeah,
other groups. That's why.
yeah,
But here
yeah.
what. So
you
contact him
know,
directly. Contact Barry. Two people. Him and Barry
Well,
directly.
yeah, Barry.
Barry handles government business.
I try like I send Barry emails as well as WhatsApp, but he
I
doesn't
never got
respond.
a response from him. None,
Yeah,
none
none.
whatsoever.
All right then. So
None.
then they don't make sense proceeding at this point. Let's work
Yeah.
on the other things that we're working on right now.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree. As I said, I think our plan of action is as we have agreed on, Samantha, and I'm sure we just recapitulate. One, right? We will get Gary, as you suggested, we get our team together, which is already together. We just have to, if we have got one or two persons, right? That's one. Our ideology that whatever we plan to do, let's talk offline on that, so we know exactly what the approach we will take for the advice that we shall give. I am saying that we have to target Saddam, right, at the strategic level at NATEX, because that is his position. So we could write to him officially. Maybe Gary, you could connect with him by phone or whatever it is, because they're not listening to me and they're not taking my phone calls, right? So basically, if you do that, maybe that will help and establish a connection that they will at least say, okay, well, look, let us meet, let
Yeah,
us
yeah.
have a
No, what
meeting,
I'm suggesting
yeah.
is leave that alone for now. Let's work
And
on
I am on the ground.
on the
If I
project.
will be here, so I can actually physically go and meet, and then connect with you guys,
Do
during the meeting. So yeah,
a Zoom link or something with us.
correct.
No, but there's certain things. Forget the Zoom for now. Doc, I want Doc to physically go and have a conversation.
Yeah. So once you set it up, even if I have to get my driver to take me to the MP and I see them before they day in the MP's office or after, fine. Once we get that meeting, right? Because I think this is the approach we can take. And then once once I talk to Saddam and he understands basically what we are trying to do, and I face to face, I think that he's someone.
That is what
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I prefer you do.
Yeah, so your role, I think your role, Gary, since you say that you have other chats and you seem to be getting a response, is maybe you could set it up, because right now I don't think I have any locus standi, right? I am
But
clearly
but what I'm saying,
not
I
seeing
would
any response.
contact directly. I would not
Yeah,
put it on a chat. But what I'm saying to you, I do
yeah,
communicate with them, and but with all the state of emergency and everything going on, I know they are bombarded with
very, yeah. And I'm listen.
Yes.
that could be the
I am
delay on
fully
things.
understanding that a lot of these ministers are very busy. So
Super,
even if we,
super
yeah,
busy. You have to
yeah,
understand that.
if and I appreciate that, maybe they don't have to answer us. The thing about it is, though, is that I know, for example, I know Mrs. Minister Jillian John. I see that sometimes, like when I send something, she will reply and say thank you. Now, I mean, that to me is it makes me feel good, but at least I get a response, right? And
Yes,
it is
correct.
things that are related to like works, right? And I mean, it's very relevant, right, to what she's doing. In fact, I don't know if you remember, I talked about the Sagasam, right, where it's
Yeah.
an innovative thing that I've seen operate in other countries, and it
Where you could
actually,
brand the companies,
right,
put their
good.
bags and so on and give
Right.
them.
I saw it in Martinique. I saw it in some of the islands, in the Pacific and whatever it is. The thing about it is that it works in Samoa and some of these countries, and it is a very good thing. She actually acknowledged it, right? And I mean, this is what I'm saying. So if at least they say, well, I mean, they don't have to read everything, because clearly some of these are very wordy and all this sort of thing. So we have to be, maybe in our strategy going forward, we might want to put it in bullet points and say, well, look, because they are only going to look at 5 or 6 points. So maybe, Samant, what we can do is, going forward, because we understand they're busy, we could probably have a sort of executive summary in a point form, so they could actually look at it, and then if they're interested, we could detail it and flesh it out for them. You know what I mean?
And a good
Yeah.
example is, right now, I don't know if you saw not last week, the week before, Storby was bombarded with Sargasso meat. First time.
Yes. Yes.
First time in the history. I
Yeah.
mean, You know, that's one place that never got sargassum.
Correct.
And the whole thing, the whole beach was bombarded with
Yeah.
it. Because now if we can sell that idea, meaning offer them a proposal to get this thing going, to get rid of the
Yeah.
sargassum. THM, they don't have the solution. I don't think anybody's thinking along those lines.
Yeah.
They're just following up because they're taking instruction from CTO, Caribbean Tourism Organization, because all the islands have the same damn problem.
Yeah. And a lot of it involves
Miami
money.
Beach here is the same problem, but
They're
here
going to spend a lot of money.
Here they can afford to run the backhoe in the night and clean up the beach and sweep the beach nice every morning.
Yeah.
They can afford to do that.
Yeah.
But we can't afford to do that back home. We let them pile up a couple of days and then run the backhoe, pile it up. High tide comes in, takes out half of it.
I swear to God, I have a video somewhere that I had sent to the chairman of the Rio Claro Mayaro Corporation, and I sent him because right in front of my house they hired a backhoe to come and clean the sargassum, and the guy just came quickly. He take the backhoe, he shoveled everything and put it on the shoreline.
When
and when the high tide came, everything went back in the water. And they collect a big fat check. When the month come, they collect a check.
Same thing they do in Tobago. Lowlands the same thing.
Yeah.
So, see, we can come up with these ideas to them and we can take it if they choose
some people may not be interested in your ideas too. So these are the things, because I mean, so
no, you see,
it depends on who we lay these messages to.
And therefore, I do feel that if we go through Saddam at the strategic level, he's a young person. He probably would understand if we explain it nicely to him, physically. Yeah, physically, and I agree. Not on a phone or Zoom anything. I don't mind going. I have no problem. It's just that to set up this meeting, right? We must all agree on what we are going to say, right? And therefore, I feel that we must have a clear understanding, because I'm not going on my behalf. I'm going on behalf of a team, because there are components of each proposal that involves all the subject matter expertise on this team, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. What I'm saying, I think
Doc, I am fully confident in your knowledge and everything.
No, Sumant, I mean, what you were saying, Sumant, I didn't get that last.
I was going to tell you, our standout point should be there. How are we going to be there from 2030 to 2035 or 2030 to 2040? That is our overriding strategic objective.
Yes.
And so that I think he will buy something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Because apparently most of the NATEX members are no longer there, and whoever is doing strategic planning and so on, I don't think there's anybody.
Yeah, because Saddam is the strategic planning officer, but all NATEX, most of the NATEX are actually MPs right now or parliamentary secretaries, and they are ministers.
Or appointed on boards and things like that. Boards. So who is taking care of things for 2030 to 2040?
Yeah. So let us try and meet with him. Gary, see if you could set up that, and offline we will talk, and I will physically go, and of course we'll connect. And at least we have a good idea of what Sumant just said. This is basically what our approach will be, and let us see, because there are a number of things we have talked about on this forum. I mean,
politics will have to wait for a little bit because
yeah,
dealing with serious national security issues.
Yeah, so it will relate to governance, and a lot of the governance issues stem from what the party itself envisages for the country. And they would have discussed at their meetings and their parliamentary, the parliamentary meetings and whatever it is. And they would have had discussions, and the prime minister will come and say, okay, guys, look, we're going into parliament today. This is what we're going to be discussing. This is the point of view. This is where we're going to be project. So I think that they already have that set up, because they're coming out and they're showing that they they are all in consensus and whatever. So we are seeing
Yeah.
some good things, and we
Yes,
just want to,
I'm
yeah,
seeing that as well.
yeah,
But you know what
But you
hurt
can't
my
bring everything towards the public because remember you have to solidify certain things. So,
yes, correct.
all right. So I think first of all, I think the government has handled itself very well. I'm very proud of the team, and I know. I mean, they may delay in getting back to us, but I know that they mean well, and I'm very comfortable with the team here. I mean, they respond to me when I message them. So
Well,
I think it's just a matter of time.
and this what we have is I mean, how to explain this? It's like, okay, your body gets a burnout sometimes, right? Where you keep doing something, you keep, setting yourself up at this high standards, you're setting the bar high, right? And like all human beings, we burn out, we get a burnout, right? When the fires keep coming, all right, and you keep trying to out the fires, and the PNM keep bombarding you with silly things like racist talks, and they have this. Listen, they are good at that.
what?
They have that down to a perfection, right? So they know
I've already
exactly.
seen some factions
Yeah,
of group already infecting.
PNM is one of the best oppositions that they have in this country. They have always been a good opposition. They hit you hard. They know what to do, and they have people like the media who actually put it. When you look at the media and you look at the general spread of the articles and thing, you'll always see that. Look at what happened with the express action for people to identify the bridges. It's a blatant
Yeah,
hit in the face. They
you
expect them.
you saw my comment on it though. I say,
Yes.
oh, well, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
there's found a cure for PIP, and that is the UNC.
Yeah. So
Because they never had these questions for the past 10 years.
yeah,
What has changed?
yeah. What's it? Everybody talking about the constitution of boards, and they should remain on the board. They should keep the same people, and all of this garbage.
Them want to dictate who to hell with
Yeah.
you.
You understand?
they're
Big
not
people
gonna
coming
dictate
up
to
with
what we
from
do.
university, and they're talking about the boards have to have. What the hell happened to 10 years? People sat on boards, and it was a lot of them was purely African Trinidadians, right? And some of them were there for 10 years, and they still have problems in the hospital for syringes and needles, right? And
Nobody.
every week I have persons come into my office, right, who are suing the RHA for negligence. Every week I have a case. Look, today I had a case, where somebody called me. Quite on Rosella, I had to go this morning, right, for somebody who is suing the RHA because of a negligence case. And they're going to win it.
But you see the damages now. Now that we in government, it's our government has to find the money. These are the destruction that PNM caused us. Because a lot of people are suing the government, and now they're getting paid. Now the judges are granting them because PNM is also office number one, and which government had to come up with the money now, right? So all the damages that PNM did, the situation with the divers is the UNC government have to come up with the money.
But look at that,
right?
you see.
And
So
they
I think really and truly, if yeah, sorry about that, Gary. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying you have to watch these judges too, but now they're going to grant some of these cases favor.
Yeah.
Before PNM was there, they might have stole them and and all this thing, but now they granted them,
Well, that's what we said. I mean, early in the program, we said that this is a PNM country, and it's a PNM country, whether you like it or not. You have to understand that we have a PNM culture in the country. I mean, we witness many incidents over the last 10 years where you have a cultural show and it was purely one type of culture being displayed.
Yeah.
Right. When you go to international fora, I remember going to some diplomatic meetings in 2017 when I was phased out of the ODPM. And when we went to some of the events, functions, diplomatic circles, I think it was purely one kind of people that were there. And this is not racism, right? Our country is a very diverse country. It has many different backgrounds, but they never represent all the backgrounds. And they're talking about racism now.
Internationally, it was known until Basti
You know?
became prime minister that there was any Indians living in Trinidad.
They're shooting this philosophy to bring back. You see that 110,000 who did not go and vote, who held their vote. That is what they're appealing to by bringing the race talk into this.
Yes.
discussions.
Yeah.
That is one method of appealing to the tribe.
Yeah.
So, and PNM has had a strong history, in fact, 100% accuracy that they never out of the Trinidad and Tobago political scene for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
Always come back in power. To tell you the resilience and their strategies, it always worked for them. So they always return to government after 5 years. Now there will be nothing that hurts me more at this rounds if we cannot win another 5 years or another 10 years. Because we're going to the same old, you cleaning up the mess for them, the country goes back to regressing for the next 10 years or 5 years, as the case may be. So all the good work that has been done is all goes back in the negative, you know.
But
And
we have
this
to.
is a
I don't
scary
care
part.
what anybody think. We had to mash up. We had to mash up the EBC structure. We had to mash it up.
And the tool that we use, Gary, is that what we have to do is to convince our current ministers is that what they have to do as a government is that they have to run this like a damn business, right?
Absolutely.
Because once you run it like a business, like all businesses survive. But if you run it only as an election or a party thing, that when you win the election, you run the government, right? That means it'll go back to PNM, right? And that's what we're trying to say. The tool that we have to incorporate, right, in this country is people have to make sure and run whatever ministry that they are operating like a damn business, right? There's a
Correct.
business process that you have to put in because that is the science, that is the evidence that tells you that you begin to institutionalize something, and that is what survives all environmental conditions, all socioeconomic conditions, all global issues that will affect a country. If you begin to put in your business process in your governance at all levels, either central or local, you are going to survive it. And the key communication of what you are saying, informal and formal,
Yeah.
and formal. The
Mhm.
formal communications, we know all about that. But you know what it is? The informal communication, right, is what will win us the next couple years, the next couple terms of it. Not the formal. The formal, everybody knows what to do. They know about Facebook now. They have Facebook creators and they have TikTok and I mean they have all kind of people now. They could sell anything, with social media and things. This is a big science, fake news and all kind of things is a big problem, right? And these people know what to do. They will bombard you with this and they will brainwash you, all of that. But you see, this informal communication is what will win us. That is, and what it is, you have to target your marginal seats. You have to get into your marginal seats from now and start politicking, right? And that is where the key lies. Put in your business process, focus on your marginal seats, build up your party base there, right? Make sure and put some informal communication and formal communication so that the constituents know what you're doing. And you have to get your marginal seats. I mean, you could put less effort in Naparima or a push East or a push
Correct.
West, Siparia, but you see San Fernando West, you have to be careful. You have to be careful in Tunapuna, St. Augustine, all of these areas, you have to be careful,
St.
right? And this is
Joseph
where you
too.
have to start working from now. So I was very happy when, Gary, when you said Toko Sangri Randy, you want to do some engagements. It wasn't successful today and everything, but I'm with you and I'm supporting this venture. And as soon as you could connect, of course, I'm there. Once I have the time, right? It's not a problem.
Sure.
So what happened is they were out in the field and the internet was causing some problems. So he want to try again for tomorrow. So let me know your schedule time for tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
If I could see.
tomorrow I'm gonna be pretty busy because what happened? I have office in Port of Spain in the morning. I have about 4 or 5 patients in Balsain, and then my daughter is coming in from Toronto around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So tomorrow I'll be kind of busy, and then when she's here,
Right,
she's
so
only
maybe
here
we
for the
connect
weekend.
later.
Yeah. So we'll probably look at, well, Friday's a holiday, so if we have some time during the Fridays, no problem.
All right then.
Saturday morning I have some surgery to do on some people, and then Sunday I might go to the beach. So yeah, I'll have some time on Friday and Sunday, definitely.
All right then, so we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Suman, do you have
All
anything
right.
else to add?
Guys, take care. Yeah, everything is okay now.
Okay then. Good night, everybody.
All right, guys. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm going to send a little piece on the earthquakes and tsunamis, because I think Trinidad is long overdue for an earthquake, and I just wanna make a comment on what is happening in Japan and Russia and whatever, because it clearly just makes us understand that we have to get things prepared. So I might just put a little piece on that if that's all right.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Good. All right. Good.
Take care. Good.
Take care, guys.
Good night, everybody. Thank you again.